Starts timer.
And welcome back to 2022. I'm Steven with Singular, and today I'm joined by my favorite rock star co host, Catherine. Welcome. This is our first stream for
Hello.
2022, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. It's been a few months. It's good to be back. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. And today we have some really cool stuff to go over. We're going to do a little bit of what's new. Catherine's got a few things to go over, some of which I'm really excited to finally get out there. And then we are going to move on to one of our real amazing partners at Grabyo. And we've got Xavier who's going to join us, and he's going to walk through Producer. We're going to show you some adaptive output. So I'm looking forward to that. And we know who's in the shadows out there, Mr. Travis Doyle, who had a birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Mr. Doyle. It was good to
Thank
see
you,
you
sir.
yesterday.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, we're ready to roll. So, Catherine, let me just pass it off to you, and let's just jump into some what's new stuff to kick this one off. Thanks for joining, and the table is set. Catherine, knock 'em dead.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. So, as you guys might know, if you're a Singular customer, Studio is sort of our flagship standard control interface. It's like a playlist rundown style control interface for operating your live graphics. But we have Studio 2 out in beta now, which is just a really big sort of overhaul of our UI. We have some awesome intuitive features in there. It's really fast, works great on different devices. It's just a nice overall improvement of Studio. And I think that's what Stephen was alluding to as being excited that Studio 2 is out there. So please test it. We love to hear your feedback. I know we've got a few customers already that have given us feedback, and we've actually implemented some of their suggestions. So we care about what you guys want. So please feel free to test it. We also have a nice little Q&A article on our website if you care to learn a little bit more about the team behind Singular. We kind of go over why some of us have joined the company, why we're so energized by HTML graphics, this technology, and really our visions for the future of Singular. And then lastly, we're always trying to release new templates to the community for free. And we've recently released this new style of templates called Unos, which you may have heard about. But essentially, it's really almost the invention of Stephen a little bit. It's this idea of trying to do one type of graphic or one type of thing and do it really well. So have very robust control over one style of graphic, which is very helpful, obviously, for score bugs. So we've recently released badminton style score bug templates to the template library. So if you happen to be broadcasting badminton anytime soon, feel free to check that out in our template library, or you can head over to Singular.live/Uno. So that's it for me.
I will just add on to a few things that you made. Well, first, I can't certainly not take credit for all of Uno. I got a lot of amazing team.
Yeah, but
I'm
you're
just
the
one
idea
cog in the
guy.
wheel. But yes, Uno is a very powerful architecture. It's a very powerful application environment. So the team, the R&D team, has really made it easy for us to expand within the Uno family of apps. So there'll be more coming with Uno in the months ahead. So we're really excited about that one. I just want to jump back to Studio 2.0, which Catherine mentioned. A lot of under the hood work went into Studio 2.0. Studio is quite the beast in terms of an application. So most of the things that you will see, it'll look very familiar in its overall layout, but hat tip to the crew that put that together on our side. A lot of work, a lot of small details. So it is much more I don't even want to use the word stable, because Studio, its current iteration, is very stable. It just has better performance. It's going to load quicker. It's going to manage larger playlists. And there are a number of very nice features in Studio 2. So we definitely need feedback, of which we've started to get some. Some of our alpha and then beta testers have come back to us with some really good response. I'm using it increasingly more. And so we're really excited to get Studio 2 out there. The only one comment I will make about it, a lot of back and forth with our team. It's not really a click a button and go from 1 to 2. You will start with a Studio 2 application in itself as its own new instance. So it's not like you're upgrading from 1 to 2. You can keep your existing Studio 1. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not broken. So if you want to try out Studio 2, simply make another rundown list with Studio 2. So yeah, just a word on that. And yeah, feedback will be great. Looking forward to getting as much feedback as we possibly can about Studio 2.0. Other than that, I guess we're ready for what I've really been looking forward to. I was introduced to Grabyo, or I should say the Singular team was introduced to Grabyo a number of years ago, and they were one of our very first early adopters using Singular to enhance their platform, which is quite popular out there in the streaming world, especially in social media. We are going to take a look at Producer today with Xavier. So I'm really excited to have Xavier here to welcome into our little group, our little group of rock stars, of which Xavier has been pulled in. And it's been nice getting to know Xavier over the last couple of weeks, getting to know him, and he's going to walk us through Producer specifically to take a look at adaptive graphics. So Xavier, I'm going to hand the table to you. And if you could give us a little overview of exactly what is Grabyo Producer and why would I want to use Grabyo Producer? So take it away, my friend.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you guys for having me aboard. Me and the Gravio team are super excited to be contributing to the live stream that you guys got running now. And what is Gravio Producer? That's a great question. At its core, Gravio Producer is a cloud-based live production suite built for production teams to easily create and deliver live streams to social media, OTT, and digital platforms. When you talk to our CEO, when you talk to the product and engineering teams, the long-term vision for Gravio Producer is to replace traditional hardware and software and to provide a more flexible and agile solution for live production in the cloud.
Well, that's a yeah, and I will tell you, having firsthand experience with Grabio, with a number of customers, obviously, that we interact with that use Grabio, very intuitive, easy to use user interface. So we're really happy from the get go. The R&D team at the dev team really saw the potential to add Singular into Gravio. So it's been very successful, and I think there's a lot more to go. So I know Catherine's got a number of questions
Yes,
that
I have a question.
present to Xavier and see if we can put him to the test, see if he can come up with some good answers on some. He's ready.
I hope I can give you
Yeah,
the best answers possible.
Yes.
good, good. Okay, so well, what are the benefits? I think a lot of people would want to know of using Grabyo Producer.
Yeah, and that's a great question. The first thing that will come to mind when we think of Gravity Producer, number one is that it's easy to use. It's very easy to train staff on how to use Gravity Producer. As we go through the UI, as you're going to see, is very straightforward. It's not meant to be a very complicated platform to use. The next strength of Gravity is that you can use it anywhere in the world. As long as you have a laptop or a computer with an internet connection, and you have a web browser, you can access Gravity Producer from anywhere in the world. It requires minimum equipment and personnel to run a production. So, for example, if you just want to do an on-prem hybrid kind of solution, all you need is a camera, an encoder, and Grab Producer. We do all of the overlaying graphics, video switching within the cloud, backed by AWS. So it's very easy to do these nice, professional-looking content within the cloud.
Yeah.
It's also very easy to extend your traditional broadcast workflows. We do a lot of, I like to call them sidecar productions with
Mm-hmm.
traditional TV broadcasts. So if you want to do pre-shows, post-shows, kind of get that reach out to social media, GrabReduce is a perfect tool for that. And last but not least, we're not limited to just live streams and encoders. You could bring in your VOD assets. If you have custom graphics, we also have integrations with Singular.live, as you guys know, I'm fully aware of, as well as the ability to bring in music, media, music files, and images, all that fun stuff into the platform. So when we go through the demo, when we kind of go through the platform, I think the value will kind of speak for itself.
Excellent. That's a
Awesome.
good overview. Well, as you can see here, we're screen sharing, and you can see the producer UI with preview and program and a number of sources down at the bottom. It's very intuitive, easy to use UI, and dropping an HTML overlay, graphic overlay from Singular. Again, very straightforward and easy. So really cool to see.
So before we dive, I was just going to say, before we dive into the graphics a little bit, can you sort of just run us through all those features that Producer has outside of the standard video switching stuff?
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I could do a very
Okay,
high level
cool.
demo of the Gravity Producer platform, and really at its core, Producer is a layer based system. So all that means that whatever's on a higher layer is going to go over what's on a lower layer. So for example, if I have a full screen video on layer one, and I want to overlay, let's say, a singular graphic, I'll put my singular graphic on layer two. Simply select that, and we can go straight to air with a push of a button. During the demo, you guys are going to see a lot of point and click, but I do want to kind of make a quick note that we do have keyboard shortcuts that can be programmed to a Stream Deck or any platform that supports hotkeys or keyboard shortcuts, so you don't have to worry about doing a lot of point and click while we are doing the productions. One thing I want to talk about is our layers. So as you can see, I do have content on different layers. The beauty about layers is that layers are fully customizable, so I can resize and reshape my layer as I need to. I can also rename my layer. So if I just want to have a live stream layer, a guest layer, which we're going to talk about producer guest. I'm a VOD asset layer. I can just come in here and just simply name it as graphics, hit enter, and just like that, the layout is changed. We do have new features that we just released within the end of last year and going into this year. One of them would be our detachable monitors. So the biggest thing that we've gotten within Gravity Producer is that the UI can kind of get kind of complicated and clunky. With the ability for us to detachable monitors, I could simply hit this, and this will bring out my preview tab out to a different tab. I can hide that, so now I only have program here, and I can have preview on a whole separate tab. So the
That's
workflow for
awesome.
this would be you have multiple monitors, you have 1 to 3 monitors, and you can kind of space out everything to different tabs if need be. Next thing we do have the standard transitions. We have our cuts, dissolves, wipes, slide in, and slide out. And you can also control the default transition times for those transitions as well. And the last thing that I want to talk about quickly on the UI is the ability of broadcasting. So I just bring out the sidebar. We can create new broadcasts. So we can do one of our custom social media integrations. We have built-in Facebook page, YouTube, and Twitch. But we also are just not limited to social media. We can always do RTMP to different destinations. That's how you get to your LinkedIn, your Twitters, as well as your
Mhm.
OTT platforms. That's how you get content from Gravio Producer to those different platforms. Next thing I want to touch on quickly is just the type of content that can come into Gravio Producer. If I simply just open up the Add Source panel, we can simply upload files from your computer or cloud services. So if you had a Dropbox, Google Drive, or OneDrive, you could bring that content into Grabyo. And this supports VOD assets, pre-recorded clips, media, so audio files, and just standard images that you might want to bring into your production. We have the next one, which would be our live streams. So we can bring in already running RTMP and HLS live streams, but we also have the ability to bring in new forms of content. So we just released Pro Ingest this year, and what Pro Ingest allows us to do, before we can only bring in RTMP and HLS speeds and output RTMP. Now we can bring in SRT, ZigZag, RISC, and RTP formats into the platform, and before summertime this year, we'll also be adding the ability to do professional egress. So now, for right now, RTMP is the main source of output, but by the summer, we'll be able to do SRT, ZigZag, RISC as well. Next feature we have is just, we could add clips from campaign photos. So we do have some other pieces of software that go along with Gravio Producer, which is primarily our studio for live clipping and our editor. So any of those clips that you create in those other platforms, you could bring that directly into your producer instances. And then we have our web source for HTML graphics, like Singular.live, which we do have a separate integration with, which I'm excited to get to that later on in the production. We do have, once again, our live integration. So not just Singular.live, you can bring in your Twitter and Twitch channels. And then last but not least, one of our favorite features that we like to do, we like to call it producer guest. So a lot of times what happens is we have these live productions like we have right now, and you want to get people to be able to come into the production, be commentators, be contributors. And, biggest issues is scheduling. Do they have the right hardware? Do they have the right software? Do they have the right login information? With producer guests, we've removed all that complications from the platform, and it's very simple to use. If I just simply hit my guest source, I'm going to give this person a title. For demonstration purposes, we always love to use the good old-fashioned guest one. We'll add that. From a director's perspective, all I got to do is take and copy and paste this link you see right here. Now, this does open up as a hyperlink, so if you email this link or text this link to your guest, they can just click on the link, and it's going to bring them to the interface I'm about to show you right now. They can access this interface from their, laptop, tablet, mobile device, as long as they have internet connection. Simply hit enter. We will automatically detect their microphones and the cameras that they're using. They just simply hit start streaming. And just like that, they're inside my production. A very streamlined approach to bringing commentators into a production. One thing we like to show right there is if I just go here, bring this to program, I can also share my program output with this particular guest. So as a director, this is the interface you'll be seeing. You have your guest in there, but as the guest, you have your program return feed, and you have this makeshift green room feature. We do provide you with an on-air tally, so you know whether or not you're on air or off air. And multiple guests could be in this instance, but mixed mind is already built into the platform. So once again, you won't have to worry about any unnecessary background noise, echoing. Everything will be taken care of with the backend of Gravio Producer Guest. But we do give you some added functionality to audio control. Real quickly, we have a audio mixer that we built into the cloud. And as you notice, I opened up my audio mixer as a separate tab. Gravio Producer is a collaborative environment. Think of it as a Google Doc for production. Multiple people can be logged into Grabyo doing different things. So you can have one person coming in operating the audio mixer that we have on the screen. You have another person coming in controlling the Singular.live graphics, which we'll walk through that integration a little bit later. Have another person doing the video switching or uploading content. So there really is no limit to what can be done from a collaborative perspective within Gravio Producer. With the audio mixer here, as you can see, I already have my live stream sources here. But to add a source to the audio mixer is very simple. Hit the drop down. I can add my guest source. And I can also add even if we had an MP4 file of VOD assets, we can add that to the audio mixer as well. We can solo the audio, mute it. We can pan the audio left to right, control the volume, and control the gain of any individual source coming into Gravio Producer. And the cool thing about it is customizable, so I can rearrange my channels as I need be, as well as add new pages. So the pages are just a way to organize those audio channels. So you can have one page for all your guest sources, another page for your VOD assets, another page for your live streams, as well as having that master control program output here for volume control. And the last feature I want to touch on real quickly is we also have the ability of having a multi-viewer in the cloud. If I just simply hit the multi-viewer option, I can open up a new multi-viewer. And once again, like I mentioned, let's open up as a new tab. So a workflow for this would be you have this. on a separate monitor to monitor all your live streams and all your sources. It's very easy to customize. You just simply hit edit. And by default, you have your previewing program on the top row right there, but I can put whatever I want in whichever panel I want. So I can just do my live streams. The multi-viewer supports up to 30 live sources, so I can just simply add another row. And the benefit of it is that the audio levels you see here are taken directly from our audio mixer. They are the true level of the audio that you will see within the multi-viewer. So we hit done. And the cool thing about the multi-viewer is that we can save this as a layout. So I just make this as Singular Live 2. I just saved it as a new layout. So now when I go back into my producer instance, hit the multi-viewer, you're going to see that Singular Live 2 layout is going to be right there. So this is good for creating those different layouts for different shows. So you have a morning show, an evening show, and a late night show. You can just do different layouts for different features. Last but not least, we just released ISO recording this past week actually. So you can record all your individual feeds coming into Gravio. So your guest sources, your live streams, VOD assets, all that can be recorded with the ISO recording feature as well. So that's Gravio Studios at a very high level. I know I threw a lot of information at you guys, but it is a very powerful platform that can be accessed in the cloud through your web browser. So you get a lot of bang for your buck with this platform.
Extremely impressive. I've seen Grabyo sort of evolve over the years with new feature sets, and Xavier went over some really remarkable new features that, so hat tip to the dev team that's put this together. It's absolutely amazing. And when you start going over, Xavier touched on some points like mix minus and tally and ISO and recording features. And you start adding up all these feature sets and you start saying, wow, this is much more than meets the eye. So it's like Xavier said, there's quite a bit going on here, but very intuitive UI. I have to be honest with you, been very impressed with the UI. Is very intuitive. Xavier mentioned the layering. It's as you can see when he had a source earlier, he's sort of video source. He brought in a singular graphic on top, which is an HTML piece. Very intuitive, easy to understand. Really neat to see these new feature sets come in, especially and the pull away tab. It's difficult in a live stream to really to show maybe you're in a dual or even triple monitor setup when you have a more multiple sources. The ability to drop, preview, and program into different monitors, multi-viewer is essential to really doing multi-camera to shoot. So you can take Grabyo as Xavier said down to one monitor if you're just sort of a one-man band sort of operation, but you can also expand it out now to multi-monitors and do a whole host of different things. So very impressive new feature set.
And to add to that point, when we onboard clients to Gravio Producer or Gravio, the whole Gravio suite in general, it's very easy to learn. Within a 1 hour session, you can kind of become a pseudo expert in Gravio because a lot of it, like we mentioned, is super intuitive, if you imagine how it should work, that's probably how it does work in Gravio Producer. So that's the beauty of the platform. You don't have to worry about having to learn a whole new language, and even with our help documentation, it's on web pages. It's not a 200-page, manual. It's a very easy platform to learn and very intuitive. And you have the whole team behind Gravio to help you master the intricacies of Gravio Producer and the Gravio platform as a whole.
Excellent overview. And I think we were going to take a look at...
there's a lot of... I was just going to say there's a lot of stuff in there that I have yet to see until recently. The audio mixer, for one, that's very impressive. And the multi-viewer, so that was really cool. That was really cool to see. I think we wanted to dive in really quickly into maybe our piece of the puzzle, which is the integrations section. So do you mind heading over to that?
Yeah, no problem. So just for a high level overview for anyone that's not familiar with the integration between us and Singular.live, it's very easy to bring in Singular.live graphics. So for example, if I just want to add in a Singular.live graphic, I will once again go to my little plus sign here. We go to our live integrations and we go to our Singular.live button right here. And the beauty of that is that it will bring up your whole dashboard. So as anyone that's familiar with Singular.live and familiar with the file structure, you have your whole dashboard. So you can pick and choose what content you bring into your layers. For example, I already have my champion soccer within the layer right here. but you have access to your inbox, your most recents, your favorites. So you literally have that whole website page inside the right panel within Grabyo.
Awesome.
And if
Can
I
we
just
see,
quickly bring up,
yeah, the soccer one?
yeah. So for example, I'm going to bring up this one. So if I just open up my settings, we have that whole control panel right here to the far right. I can control what graphics I have on air and off air. So for example, I want to take this one off, we can just simply take it off. We can also bring it back on air. If we wanted to do a different one, we have access to that whole catalog of content. And like Catherine and Steve are familiar with, we can also edit within the overlay editor. So I just double click on that. I have the ability to edit what content is in the text. So let me just go here and we're going to just put welcome. And we're going to put, then we'll do welcome Gravio Singular. We just hit update. And that should update right there within the panel right there. So it's a very powerful integration. This is where we kind of have that collaborative environment going on. So someone could be logged into Gravio Producer and just strictly be the graphics operator and just controlling the graphics, editing the graphics as need be, bringing them in, taking them out. So it's a very powerful integration that we've built between us and Singular.live. And it's one of our clients' favorite features, of course, you know, to just be able to have everything within one web page is such a powerful tool within itself because a lot of people don't want to have to worry about going from one tab to another, having to monitor different monitors to go with the graphics. So it's a very powerful tool to have everything within one space right here.
I will just chime
And
in and say that it's really neat, you know, when you have the Singular UI, if you are just doing a one-person sort of production, you can have a simple rundown list from Singular Studios you see here. But there's nothing stopping you from having somebody in a remote location. If I wanted to fire up Singular on my own, you know,
mm,
laptop at home and manage a much more involved list and trigger the graphics directly into Grabio. So it's sort of this accordion approach where when you see the power of using Gravio with Singular together, you can take it down to a one-person production, or you can expand it out multiple people using and triggering the graphics as needed. So really, you know, when you're all cloud, when you bring two cloud powerhouses together, you see the end result. So it's really neat for me to see, you know, the full thing. And again, if your production gets really big and you've got a lot of graphics, at some point there's a sort of a breaking point where you need multiple people doing dedicated tasks, whether it's the audio portion, the video portion, or the graphics portion. So, you know, I think with the two tools together, Grabyo and Singular together, you've got the ability to take it down to one or expand it out as needed. So really neat to see it, and very responsive UI. Again, we've got the resources using for the screen share right now in this stream. You can still see it's extremely responsive. Xavier's just bringing up graphics, the base templates from Singular, animating them in and out. Beautiful, really nice to see.
Yeah, and I think another a key point about the integration is that all you need from a Grabio and Singular.live perspective to be able to use integration is just your username and password, just to log into the panel as you pull it up. So even from like a configuration standpoint, it's not a hard lift to kind of make this magic happen with between us and you guys over at Singular.live.
Catherine, what about that Q&A? Is it filling up? Is it
oh
stacked
no,
20 deep?
we have one little bit that we wanted to show, kind of what we're calling our cherry on top. We want to show some adaptive graphics.
Yes.
So we haven't really
Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't gone very deep into our adaptive feature set lately, but it is incredibly robust and you can do a lot of different things. And by adaptive, I mean a whole host of different things. So you could be adaptive in the sense that you're sending specific graphics to specific outputs. So maybe your full screens go somewhere and your lowers go somewhere else. Maybe you've got, like we're seeing on screen now, a lower third sponsor graphic where you're doing regionalized graphics. So you might have 3 different broadcasts. You might be doing an English broadcast, a Japanese, and a German, and you want one control over that one graphic, but you want it to look differently for your different regional broadcasts. You can do that. That's adaptive. I think there's so many other use cases. And a third use case would be if you want to send specific graphics to people watching on their phones versus people watching, you know, on their PC or on their computers or their tablets or their TVs. There's just a lot of things you can do with adaptive, and I can kind of ramble on about it. But for this specific scenario, we're showing right now a lower third sponsor that if we want to cut, Travis, to what our theoretical outputs would look like, these regionalized graphics. So let's pretend that you're doing a broadcast to a German audience and a Japanese audience and an English audience, clockwise English. Well, it doesn't really matter. They're different. They're different colors. If you can see, they're that bottom one's in Japanese. The second line of that yellow one is in German, and they've got different sponsorships. So you're really starting to take advantage of sponsorship slots when you're doing something like this. So if you want to operate that single lower third in your interface, Xavier, we can see all of these different outputs. Those graphics behave at the same time. And then if you want to take it back in. So this is really cool from an operator's perspective. Yeah, I don't know if you want to touch on this, Stephen.
I will say that, yeah, as Catherine mentioned when she started mentioning adaptive, I think the best way to sort of wrap your head around, you're effectively adapting the output from Singular. And in the case of Grabyo, and Xavier can speak to this in a moment, you have the ability in Grabyo to stack multiple instances of Grabyo. But on the Singular side of things, you can adapt the output. So the adapted output might be, in this case, we're showing multi-language with different designs, a blue, a yellow, and a red with different sponsor logos. In other instances, as Catherine touched on earlier, you might want to adapt the output of Singular to handle multiple aspect ratios. As Catherine mentioned, it might be that you need an output that works properly for a phone versus a tablet versus a desktop. So the adapting of an output is something that we have in Singular. So you have one core composition that you've built, and then you can tag the specific graphics to do specific things, whether it's different aspect ratios for devices or different languages, different designs. And then in conjunction with Gravio, you can use those adaptive outputs to get multiple distinct master outputs, if you will. So it's absolutely extremely powerful tool. And I think this is the best way to show it. I remember when we were sort of in rehearsal talking about, it's a little challenging for us to show this, only because, normally you would be doing this on a multiple monitor setup, but you can clearly see the most important thing is to see the main, the three different outputs. So it's incredibly powerful to be able to produce that much content from one central location, all cloud. It's beautiful.
And to even add to that, Steve, like I mentioned, with Gravio Producer, we're a very flexible platform. So you can even have multiple producers doing the, adaptive graphics in different aspect ratios as well. So we can have these three same graphics, but we can be doing one production in 9:16, another one in 4:5, another one in 16:9. So with Producer, we can always speed producer instances into other producer instances to kind of get that master control versus, different program control rooms. So there really is no real limit to what could be possible with some imagination and some hand holding from us and you guys over at Singular.live. So there's a lot of powerful productions that could be created within these platforms working in unison together.
I had one question for you, Xavier, as you were giving the main demo when you went through Producer. You do have the ability, do you have the ability to go to multiple CDNs simultaneously? You mentioned Facebook and YouTube. I assume you guys can stream to multiple destinations, which is really a nice feature.
Yes. So we definitely have the ability to go. There really is no upper limit on how many destinations we can land from one producer instance. So if you want to do 2 social media accounts, like let's say you want to do 4 Facebook accounts, 3 YouTube channels, you want to go to 4 different CDNs, we have the ability to hit all those points from one producer instance. So there really is no limit to what is possible from a destination standpoint on what Gravio Producer can output to. So it is very powerful to be able to get, be able to hit multiple places at once with one instance, which is just powerful enough in itself, in all honesty.
We like no limits here at Singular and Grabyo. You can go as many places as you want. This has really been great seeing this. Some of these features, as Catherine mentioned, I hadn't seen them either, and they're just absolutely amazing. I look
Yeah.
forward to using Grabio and really spreading them across my multiple monitors here as well, and really really great stuff. So again, another hat tip to the dev team at Grabio. We've had a really nice relationship with them for a number of years, and now can we jump into Q&A? Tell me the stack is
Yes.
this long? They're banging on the doors. We want in. We want. Right?
Yeah,
I
We're
I'm
hope.
dropping them
attacking
in
the
right
castle
now.
gates.
Before we answer them though, really fast, there's a bunch of helpful links in the description. So if you want to try Gravio for free, I think you guys have a demo video or something where you can
Yeah.
an overview of Producer, what we've just covered. We've got some links ourselves if you want to dig into actually trying our adaptive feature set. Signing up for free, you can try Singular for free. Everything's there. So without further ado, I've got ask us anything, but I don't need to ask that because we've already got several questions here. So this one's a little long, so it's squeezed, but um, it's relevant really to what we were just talking about, which is it's a great question. Is this a multi-language output example? And how does Gravio handle different languages of commentators? And then I think this person went in to elaborate a little bit more and was wondering if it was an example with the same audio, or how would you manage different language uh,
Yeah.
alongside the graphics, I guess.
Yeah, so you would obviously want to import those different contents with different languages. We can overlay different contents over one another, which is the power of the layers. So we can mute video, we can mute the live streams, we can, do some audio replacement if need be. So that is a much more of a specific use case question, but we can always, work around, the ability of having different languages within the Gravio instance. So you would just have if you want to do 3 different languages, you can either bring those streams already having those languages embedded on them, or you can do audio only streams and bring them into Gravio, and we can replace that over the video. So there's the multiple different ways of handling that. It all depends on what way you fancy the most.
So
I'll chime
basically, you
in
can
on.
have 3 different commentators, right, and commentating in different languages and pulling in that audio for the different instances, right, for those outputs. Okay, sorry,
Correct.
Stephen, you were going to say something.
Oh no problem. I'm glad you clarified the audio portion. On the graphics portion of it, with this has come up a number of times over the years with different customers that want to do multiple languages. Now, clearly, if you get into an auto translation software, if we just use Google for an example, usually that's not going to suffice for a professional broadcast because you can't really rely on Google to do the correct proper translations. There's nothing stopping you on the Singular side of thing on the graphic. You can write scripts. For example, if you want a term in English to come out correctly, the term that you want in German, we can be looking for those terms and swap them in the script, in the composition. So there's a lot of times where you can use sort of a lookup table because you're going to have specific terms for that you want translated into specific languages. So it is a little bit of a, I don't want to say can of worms, but it just depends on the type of production you want. If you want it fully automated, again, if you're at the mercy of, say, a Google Translate, you're going to get what Google Translate comes out with, and sometimes it's not what you want. So if you want to force the correct translation that you want, you can do that in a script in Singular. So a little bit more advanced. And Catherine, that might be one that we actually could rope in one of the R&D guys and show an example of that, of using a script to do the exact term that you want. A lookup table effectively is what it is. So good question. Very good question. Doable. All doable.
Yeah, and if we cut back actually to the screen share, you can see that we specifically set this graphic up to where you have 3 different input fields for those 3 different regionalized outputs. But like Steven said, you could do it once, right, and then manage those translations inside of the actual composition, your custom composition. But there's a lot of different customizable things that you can do. It really just depends on your workflow and what makes sense to you. I did want to mention this because I thought it was really cool. We had a church recently who's actually using adaptive features, so it's very advanced stuff. And they're looking at a really unique use case where they've got all of their full screens are only going to their sanctuary output. So the people actually in church, in sanctuary, right? seeing the service happen, and they'll see the graphics that they need to see. But in terms of the actual live broadcast they're doing, they do Zoom calls, so they'll bring in just their lower thirds into that portion of the actual live stream. So they're managing two different aspects of an event with adaptive graphics and one specific rundown of graphics. So it's really cool what you can do, and I just find I applaud that specific church for diving in. So it's possible for anyone to dive deep, because I know that they're not traditionally experienced and deeply experienced in graphics. So feel free to dig around. I'm going to jump back a little bit to something that is purely Grabyo here. We have a question that is, can you do replays? I don't know if you covered that.
Yeah, that's a question. That's a question we get often. Instant replay is on our roadmap for this year. As of right now, there are different ways of kind of working around instant replay. So, for example, if you just wanted to automate the task of, so in a long story short format, you can clip out from the program output of Gravio Producer using our tool called Studio for Live Clipping. And what one of our clients have done is that they've automated that process to kind of automate the clipping aspect, putting it into a campaign folder, which is all a campaign folder is within Gravio is just think of it as a folder in the cloud, just think of it as a folder on your desktop. And then we commandly drag that clip into one of the layers. So instant replay is on the roadmap, and it's something that we are actively trying to get out, hopefully this year. But there are workarounds to doing replays today if need be.
Yeah, that's a very creative use of your tool set. Very creative use of your tool set, like you said, to drop those clips into the campaign and have them accessible then back into the main broadcast out. So yes, it is. It's really using the tool set it's to its fullest. That's a neat solution. I hadn't really thought about that.
That's cool. One where I'm gonna do my plug of just we can do demos and we can demo that out for you if need be. So you hit the link and we can definitely show you that in a demo.
Great. So our next question, is there a limit to how many guest sources you can actually bring in to Grabyo?
Once again, another loaded question. It all depends on what you're doing around the production. We usually like to say our safe limit is 12 guests to bring into Gravio Producer. But also the biggest thing to be mindful of is just looking up the virtual CPU right here. Because if you're doing 12 guests plus you're doing full screen graphics, animations and all that fun stuff, it can get taxing on the system. But I would say, we always like to say, 8 to 12 is the safe range of guests to bring into Gravio Producer.
That's a lot more than I expected. That's a lot of guests.
Yeah.
More than we have. All right. So next question. Let's see. Just typing this in as we go here. Guest sources, again, can you control what audio they actually receive, or is it strictly program feed? That's a good question.
Yeah, so another great question. As of today, it is just strictly the program feed. We are revamping producer guests, so there are going to be some additional features that goes on with that. So, for example, this week or next week, we'll be releasing guest intercom, so you can't talk to individual guests without having to do a whole nother guest link to talk to your guest. But when we revamp producer guests, there are going to be some features that we're going to add to that. I can't speak to them right now, but we can definitely revisit that to be able to control, what kind of program feeds that they're receiving. But as of right now, as of today, during this live stream, it's strictly just the program feed audio that they will be receiving, as well as the other audio from other guests within that green room feature I showed you during the demo.
Awesome. I think that's it. Travis has been feeding me some of these questions. If he says we're done, I think that's everything.
Yeah, I made a list of notes.
Do you have any questions?
I'm just looking at my notes here. Xavier did a very nice job of going over all the feature set. Again, covering a lot of things that I was not privy to until this demo. So I'm glad I kind of waited to see it from someone who knows this platform intimately, and it's really really cool to see all the new feature sets. I'm looking forward to using it again. Like I said, we have a number of customers that we run into that are using Gravio consistently day in and day out. So it's if you want a complete cloud solution, you will get that when you use Gravio and Singular together. It's pretty remarkable to see everything in the cloud, no exception. So, in this new world we live in with cloud productions, this is really quite an offering. So I think I've covered everything. I had 2 pages of notes, and again, Xavier went through everything, hit all my points, and
we do actually have one last minute question. If we don't mind answering, it's a pretty cool question. Are there any API connections between Grabio and Singular? There's an elaboration on this. So they go on to say, so cut between sources or anything else that Grabio can do to trigger Singular graphics. Do you guys understand that question? It's interesting.
I have a feeling they're well, I can tell you that on the Singular side of things, on the API, if we're talking about triggering an API, or I should say sending an API call to Singular from Grabio, that I don't believe we can do currently. I will say that the Uno suite of applications that we offer in Singular, and we mentioned briefly in the opening of the stream, that all Uno apps have a complete API. So you can, including down to a Stream Deck plugin, which uses the API for triggering stuff. So that's quite an advancement on our end of things. But in terms of triggering an API from within Grabio to Singular, I don't believe we have that at this moment, not that I know of.
I think the question actually gets more specific here. They provided us with some more information. So can the same hotkey control a video switch and a Singular graphic? I think you could cut into a Singular graphic layer, right?
Yeah.
But nothing yet to actually operate.
Yeah, so actually, there are using the transitions that we have built into the platform and using the power of layers and whatnot. So you can kind of massage the hotkeys to kind of do that kind of in and out, bringing in the Singular graphics and out, as well as doing video switching. So if we pulled up the keyboard shortcuts, which is on our website, you can preview and send sources from preview the program and call up sources and do hot switching as well. So there are some ways to doing that. We need more specifics, of course, but there are ways of kind of using those hotkey controls to kind of bring in and out the Singular graphics. Now, in order to have more control, to have like the kind of in and outs that are in the Singular.live graphics, there's a much more of a heavier task. But the good thing about Gravio is that we are a customer feedback kind of organization. So a lot of our features are created from customer feedback. So the audio mixer was given to us from customer feedback, the multi-viewer. So we always are open to those kind of requests, and we put them into our engineering team. They do their best to fulfill those requests. So if it's not in the platform now, there's definitely a chance it could be in the platform in the future. So we don't close the doors off on any of that product feedback.
I'd chime in and just say on the Stream Deck side of things, if you were using hypothetically an Uno application and Grabio simultaneously and sending commands from your Stream Deck, I'm sure you could get pretty creative and do, Stream Deck, Singular, Stream Deck, or Grabio, just commands to Grabio, commands to Singular, all from Stream Deck to do a whole host of things. Might be a good topic, Catherine, for a future live stream where we do some Stream Deck with Gravio and Singular, because I do get this question quite often. We've got a production, we've got a few go-to things that we want to get down to a Stream Deck. I got one here on my desk. Can we get some of those repetitive the repetitive tasks down to a button, which makes sense. It's really nice to be able to do that. So maybe that's the cue for a topic of a future live stream where we dive deep into Stream Deck with Grabio and Singular.
I think so. And they also actually came out with a Stream Deck pedal, which is very interesting. So if you want to control graphics with your feet, that's new territory. So that would be cool to dig into. But
as long as your socks are clean, right?
Right.
I guess so. Why not?
Okay, that's it. That's all of our questions.
That's great. I think we covered a lot of stuff. There's a lot of good information. There's some links, I assume, on this video. So, Xavier, thank you for joining us today. I think you did a very nice job of covering all the new features, some of the stuff that's been around for quite some time. It's really neat to see the two platforms working together nicely, all in the cloud. I keep saying that, all in the cloud.
Yeah, and this is a very fun experience. Like, I thank you guys for having me on board. This is a very fun, joint venture between Grabyo and Singular.live. So I look forward to more in the future.
Well, let's not make it our last. Catherine, I'm sure you'll tee it up for us and keep us on a nice agenda. And thanks again, Catherine, for the nice graphics that you always do, all those Singular graphics down there. Travis, happy birthday again in the background.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, I think that's it for now. And you'll keep an eye out for the newsletter that we'll be sending out. Catherine will be sending that out to our user base. And
well, we already sent it out, actually.
Oh, we did already send.
But
sorry.
Yeah, but it's every month, so there will be another one. It's all good.
Okay, that's true. So, well, again, thanks for joining, Xavier. Thank you, Catherine, Travis. Take care. Bye-bye.